New comic book day is tomorrow, and it's another stacked week. So let's take a look at what's coming out so I can tell you what I'm getting. What's up, guys? BJ Kicks here. I buy comics, I read them, and I review them. All for your viewing pleasure. If you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. On this channel, I talk about comics, and this is the latest in a series I like to call What I'm Getting, where I take a look at the books coming out on the upcoming new comic book day. I tell you what's on my pull list, what's on the chopping block, and what's on the maybe list that I'll be making a game day decision on. This week is a super stacked week, and I had to make some cuts to make sure I stayed under budget. It's kind of crazy, but hey, look, we're going to talk about them all. I do want to give a quick shout out before I tell you what book I'm most excited for to myself. So I started a new channel very recently called Kicks on Kicks. So I don't know if you remember in the community post, I was going back and forth over whether or not I wanted to add some sneaker content to this channel or start a whole separate channel. You guys voted. We kind of decided together that the sneaker stuff is going to go on a whole different channel. So if you look over there, there's a bunch of reviews that'll be taking place in the next 5-6 days or so, and a bunch after that. So if you're interested in sneakers, then consider subscribing to that channel. I'll leave a link in the description below. But anyway, let's talk about the books that I'm most excited for this week, starting with Dceased, War of the Undead Gods #2. Now, this is the latest in the final chapter of Tom Taylor's Dceased. I believe this is going to be a 7-issue series, but this 7 issues represents the third arc, the third act in the Dceased trilogy. Never mind that there are 4 Dceased series. It's a trilogy because Tom Taylor said so. Now this, if we had to kind of put names on everything, right? The first Dceased series, the regular, it's just called Dceased. I would say that was more of a Justice League story. The second Dceased, Dead Planet, I would say that one throws the Justice League Dark front and center. And as we got this one starting, we're exploring a lot of the New Gods territory. So through this Dceased world, we have explored kind of all the major facets of the DC universe, and each issue has been exciting. We've only got 1 issue so far. Issue 1, I felt like started a little slow, but by the time you got to the end, the stakes had been raised and the pace had picked up. So I'm excited to jump into issue 2, where I expect it to be just full on action and mayhem, what you come to expect from a Tom Taylor title. So Dceased, War of the Undead Gods #2 has a cover price of $3.99. The cover I'm getting is that Dan Mora connecting variant that is homaging Jim Lee's X-Men #1. Yeah, I know. X-Men #1 variants. I just gotta buy them. So that's the book I'm most excited for this week. And since we're talking about Dceased, we might as well talk about the rest of the DC Comics pull list, starting with Batman Superman World's Finest #7. Now, last week I read Batman vs. Robin #1, and there's a villain reveal toward the end of that issue, where it's like, all right, luckily I had read enough of World's Finest to recognize that villain, but it's pretty clear that in order to fully get what's going on in Batman vs. Robin, you need to be caught up on Batman Superman World's Finest. So I'm grabbing issue 7 and I'm going to make it my mission to get caught up on this series this week, so that I'm all up to date on what's happening in Batman world or Gotham, whichever. So Batman Superman World's Finest #7. It's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book up is honestly a chopping block contender because I just don't have the time to read it, but this is Black Adam issue #4. Now, Black Adam, written by Christopher Priest. I don't remember who's on art. I don't. Sorry. I think it's Rafa Sandoval. Maybe not. But anyway, Black Adam, written by Christopher Priest, who did also have a pretty epic run on Black Panther. It's only a 12-issue maxi series, and I kind of want to stay with it just on principle, because how often do you get Christopher Priest in the big 2? But again, there's so much going on in the DC universe. Marvel's got this huge mega event going on. It just never makes it to the top of my reading pile. So I don't know. I'm still undecided, but Black Adam #4 has got a cover price of $3.99. I'm going to grab cover A. And the next book on the pull list, speaking of books that I've not caught up on, this is Dark Crisis Young Justice #4. So there are several Dark Crisis tie-ins. Most of the Dark Crisis kind of takes place separately, not separately from the DC universe, but separately from the current publishing line. But Dark Crisis Young Justice was like the one miniseries that they created to go along with the Dark Crisis event for tie-ins. And then there's also the one-shots, the Worlds Without a Justice League one-shots. And that's pretty much all the tie-ins that you're going to get. I honestly think you could probably stick with the main Dark Crisis event based on feedback I've been getting from people. But I don't know. I'm already in too deep. I already signed up for all the tie-ins, and we're at issue #4 of what I believe will be a 5-issue run. So might as well see it through. Dark Crisis Young Justice #4. It's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book is a book that I've actually read and am excited for. This is Duo, issue #5. Duo, written by Greg Pak, with art by Koi Pham, who I met at Heroes Con a few months ago. A really, really good series. One part of the Earth M universe, which is basically sort of from the mind of the creators behind Milestone, but doesn't take place in the Dakota universe. So Duo is a series kind of reworking the origins of Zombie, where this Dr. David Kim and his fiance or wife, Kelly, I believe they're just engaged. I don't know if they're married. But anyway, David and Kelly, through a lab accident, end up like being merged. So they share one body and one mind, but they still have two distinct personalities living in themselves. And so there are some points where David takes over, and there are some points where Kelly takes over. And the whole theme of this series is like, what if your partner was in your head? What if you thought that you were like totally in sync, and then you realized you weren't? And one of you may need to be in control and one of you may not, and vice versa. How do you fight for control? How do you determine who has power at what times? How do you resolve conflicts when you're in the same body, when your partner can hear all your thoughts and everything, right? Even before you think them. Really, really cool stuff. Maybe I just get it on a better level because I'm married, but I've really been enjoying this. And I think this is like easily top 2 of the Milestone since the Milestone Returns arc. This is technically separate from the Milestone Returns, but I'm putting it in the same boat with all the other Milestone series. Like I said, it's very, very high on my list. I really love this series. If you haven't been picking it up, definitely grab the hardcover when it comes out. I believe it's coming out early 2023, but I'll keep you posted. Duo #5 has got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the pull list is another Dark Crisis tie-in. That's the one I forgot about, The Flash. The one series that's actually like taking place during Dark Crisis and in regular publishing order as well. But this is The Flash #786. It's tying into Dark Crisis, and you can tell, since I'm not up to date on Dark Crisis, I'm also not up to date on Flash. Honestly, we can kind of throw the whole DC pull list away right now. Like somehow I'm completely behind on every book except the last one on my list. So Flash 786 has a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A because I like the Flash and I'm going to get caught up eventually. But the last book on my DC pull list is the book that I spent all weekend getting caught up on, and that is Nightwing. Nightwing issue #96. Now, I read every issue from the end of Fear State, which I believe was issue 86, 87. I read every issue from 87 to 95 this weekend and loved it. I think it read really well in trade paperback, but I think even month to month the series would read well. There's one complaint I have, right? I mean, we've got some great points. We've got this relationship between Dick and Barbara. We've got Dick using his newfound fortunes to help the city of Bloodhaven in ways that no one has thought to help them before. We've had appearances from the Teen Titans and Wally West and John Kent, like all these different people, kind of showing and highlighting all the great parts of Dick Grayson's personality and what makes him just so good. He's like Batman without the baggage, really. And so I've enjoyed all of those different aspects and subplots, but the main plot featuring Heartless and Blockbuster, and even Melinda Zuko, it's kind of all been taking a really long time. It's been brewing since issue 78, and here we are at issue 95, and a lot of those plot points still haven't been resolved, but we did end on quite the cliffhanger in issue number 94, or excuse me, 95 last month. So I'm really excited about issue 96. I won't say why I'm excited. We'll talk about it in my review later this week. So join me on the hangout. But issue 96, I think is going to be really good. I'd say if you're picking up Nightwing, you're probably going to want to stick with it through issue 100. They always plan the big events for these milestone issues. So stick with it. Just a few more months. I think it's going to be really good, especially once we get through the end of Dark Crisis. But Nightwing issue 96 has a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. So that's going to do it for my DC Comics pull list. And man, like I said, there's a lot of books here and quite a few that I'm not caught up on, but I'm kind of on the hook for anyway. This is definitely going to be a chopping block kind of week, but my DC total, if I stick to the list, is going to be $28. So pretty normal. And let's move on to the House of Ideas and Marvel Comics. Now, at Marvel, I've only got one book on my pull list, and that is Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, A.X.E, Judgment Day, issue number 5. Now, I have been trying like a madman to get caught up on Judgment Day. I just finished Death to the Mutants issue 1. And I believe that coincides with Judgment Day number 2. And yeah, now I was moving on to X-Force issue 30. Here's my problem. This book has a lot of tie-ins. And yeah, because I'm not familiar with the Eternals, the book can be like a bit dense or a bit difficult for me to read at times, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, who's who, why are they saying this, why is this important, what's happening, and I really just kind of skip to the parts where the X-Men are just doing their thing. I don't skip, I read everything, but that's when I'm most engaged. But anyway, the Avengers X-Men Eternals Judgment Day event has been decent so far. I mean, I've read half of what's out right now. I know a lot of people who are loving it. I think if you're an Eternals fan, you probably get more out of it than I'm getting out of it right now. But the parts that I really enjoy are really, really good. X-Men Red has been a standout. Even the Judgment Day issues are pretty good, but I don't know if I need all these tie-ins. And for that reason, I'm not picking up any tie-ins. So Judgment Day number 5's got a cover price of $4.99. I'm going to grab the cover A. But the two books that I actually cut from my pull list to make room were the Avengers X-Men Eternals tie-ins. Anything that I wasn't subscribed to, I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to buy. So this week, that is Avengers and Fantastic Four. They both have issues coming out this week that are supposed to tie into the Judgment Day event. I'm not going to buy them. If I can't keep up with the event without those tie-ins, oh well. If I really love the event that much, then I will buy the eventual Judgment Day hardcover or Judgment Day omnibus whenever that comes out. But I'm not buying these single issues. I'm already behind. I don't need 2 more books on the pull list, and I need to save some money. So by sticking to the list and cutting those books off the pull list, I'm only going to spend $5 on my Marvel Comics this week. And that makes me feel a little bit less bad about the DC books that I'm still keeping. Now let's move on to the indies on my list, where the first one up is Gunslinger Spawn, issue number 12. Now, I keep Gunslinger Spawn on my pull list. It's the last Spawn book standing. I dropped regular Spawn. I dropped King Spawn. I dropped the Scorched. I got regular Gunslinger Spawn is the last book on my pull list in the McFarlane Spawn universe. And honestly, I enjoy it every week. It's a fun book. It's not like a super heavy read. It's not like the most plot-driven book, but it's fun. I'm really enjoying it. And the art is always good. So a nice $2.99 sort of, I don't know, break from the density of my reading pile has been dope. And that's why I'm keeping Gunslinger Spawn on my list. It's got a cover price of $2.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the indie pull list this week is Radiant Black, issue number 18. This is probably going to be the last book I pick up in single issues. Radiant Black has been really good up through, I would say, 13 issues of what I've read. But when they started expanding the massive verse and throwing out all these one-shots and all this stuff, I just kind of fell behind. I'm sure that I could read Radiant Black alone without those other books and be just fine. But just they're doing so much. I think it will be better for me to digest it in trade paperback. So I'm going to grab issue 18 since it's going to be the last in the story arc, I presume, if it's keeping the 6-issue format like most stories do. But I'm cutting it off after this, and I'm going to buy trade paperbacks or read it digitally after that. But Radiant Black, issue 18, it's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on my indie pull list is, you guessed it, The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 47. This book comes out bi-weekly. It's a full color reprint of The Walking Dead by Robert Kirkman. I love Firepower by Robert Kirkman, which I just got caught up on 2 weeks ago. See, I'm reading what I buy. But anyway, I'm loving Firepower, and I'm excited to see The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead is very much where Robert Kirkman kind of made himself a household name, even though he had other titles before this. So I'm eventually going to read this. The whole point of me buying these color issues is to bind them together in a custom hardcover or a series of custom hardcovers. And I mean, look, we're almost 50 issues in, so at least I got 2 volumes I need to go ahead and get that done with. But The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 47 has a cover A by David Finch. That's the one I'm getting for a cover price of $3.99. And that's it for the indies on my list. So if I just stick to the list, my indie books are going to cost me $11. And that means we got a grand total this week of $44. I did it. I cut a bunch of titles and ended up under budget. Now, there is one book on the maybe list. And I know what you're thinking. Yo, you're behind on books. You don't need to buy any more books. Why are you even thinking about another book? And I hear you. But the book on my maybe list is Batman, One Bad Day, Two-Face, #1. Now, this One Bad Day series, it's a series of one-shots. Each book has a different creative team, so a different writer and artist. And each book is focused on a different member of Batman's very famous rogues gallery. So the first issue was by Tom King and Mitch Gerads, and that one was The Riddler. This one is Two-Face. I don't remember who the creative team on it is. I think Penguin has a series or one written by John Ridley with Giuseppe Camuncoli. And that's going to be dope. The reason this is on the maybe list is what I found out is they're soliciting this book in hardcovers, but they're not collecting them all together. Each one shot is going to be a separate hardcover. And so what I need to decide is, all right, do I want to wait for a hardcover and pay even more for the stories? Or should I just buy them in this, regular old format, no hardcover, no oversize, but save, basically $7 on each book by just paying the cover price? And I'm undecided. I'm on the fence because you guys know I love good hardcovers, but I don't know if I want to commit to buying 8 hardcovers when I could just keep the series on the pull list. But anyway, I'm either going to buy it or not. And it's got a cover price of $7.99. Still on the maybe list. If I buy it, that brings my total up to $51. But after my discount, it takes me just under $50. So my budget's $50. I can stay under budget even with that book, but I don't know if I need to buy that book. But that's the list. So I want to know though, what are you guys buying? What are you excited for? Are you getting tired of all these events and tie-ins? Are you jumping out of Judgment Day partially like I am? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to talk comics with me all the time, then join the K Squad on Facebook or Discord. Links are in the description, and I'll see you in another video soon. Until then, hope you saw something you liked in this one. And if not, hey, that's cool. You can always buy what you like. Just make sure you read what you buy. And be nice to others, because kindness makes the world go round. Peace.